Welcome to the fourth installment of my contribution to the second annual Porsche group build hosted by Chuck's Hobby Spot, BG's Model Workshop, the Lucas C channel, Blue Ox Model Shop, and oh yeah, that podcast thing. If you're just now joining in, I'm taking this Revell Porsche 914/6 and turning it into a terrifying wheel stander. Last time I went into detail about the interior details, notably scratch building a roll cage and getting a figure fitted. I'm still looking for his arms though. It's now time to get serious about the drivetrain. So everybody's kind of seen the engine and frame I'm using for this 914 wheel stander. So it's kind of time to, make something work here. So engine goes into V drive, comes out V drive into an axle. And so continuing the 3D printing, I found this fabricated Pro Street 9-inch Ford axle on the Colts, and it's very well detailed. It has separate axle shafts that you can see I glued on extremely straight. It has a separate pumpkin thing and center section. But here's where I kind of want to talk about 3D files for a minute. Is as good as this is, as it comes out of the downloads, it's not quite right. Because I started looking at it and doing a little research, and a Ford 9-inch is actually 9 inches across. That's why it's called a 9-inch. So I like to use calipers. Needs a battery, of course, it's flashing. And I keep it in millimeters because I work in 25th scale, and so it should be about 9 inches, but it's not. It's 13 millimeters, 13.27 millimeters, which would make it a 13-inch 9-inch. That doesn't make any sense. So when you put it into Chitabox, always make sure that the parts are to scale, or at least the scale you want them to be. So that involved scaling it down to about 65%. And now it's 9 millimeters. So here's my other one that I printed. And as you can see, it's about 9.5. I'd rather err on a little bit larger, and it could just be me measuring through the calipers in the phone. And I also made some better axle shafts out of aluminum, or aluminum as you might call it. But you can kind of see that there's a pretty big difference between these two. And it seems like it would fit in the frame a lot better. Speaking of the frame, so my plan here, as you've seen, is we're going to kind of attach that somehow. But, this kind of just looks stuck on. And, when it does wheelie things, it just seems like it would just, and that's no good. So, I decided to do something about it. And you kind of know what that's going to be. So in order to kind of make this a little bit more robust, we did a thing, and I just scratch built the chassis. And this is kind of what I came up with. It just needed something a little bit more robust, I thought. So this is all evergreen, and I just kind of started duplicating the back a little bit that I had 3D printed, and then kind of extended it so it's a full chassis that attaches positively, yeah, something like that, to the floor pan. That's approved. And so basically what I'm doing is it's gonna have like a solid mounted rear axle, as we've seen, this one here, and it just kind of threads in there like so, and I'll glue it. And if you see, I've got little wires in here that I can pull taut, and then that allows that axle to kind of be in place for as I'm test fitting everything on down the road. Because yeah, when you're making chassis, there's a lot of test fitting. So this is kind of where it is right now. Got to kind of box in some more stuff, but yeah, solid rear axle. Got to do something about this front suspension. Let's see what I came up with that. The kit's front suspension was adapted to the scratch-built frame. The 914 uses a McPherson strut design, with a torsion bar located in the lower control arm. This seems like it would be okay for a wheel stander, perhaps a bit dangerous, but that seemed to match what's out back. A kit-bashed rack and pinion was located, then drilled out, and a tie rod was formed from brass. This will allow it to have posable steering, which should give it even more personality. Returning to the back, short drive shafts are cut from aluminum tubing with 3D printed U-joints. These came from an Andrei Bezrodny kit. These files were a bit too small, but once sized up, they are quite nice. I now feel good about where the wheels are going to go. Speaking of wheels, a 914 just wouldn't look right without a set of Fuchs wheels. These are arguably the most iconic Porsche wheels, period. Anyone that has ever tried to paint them for a model has likely made up some new cuss words, but that is no longer the case. I found these wonderful multi-piece Fuchs wheels from 89 Designs, but they aren't really in wheel stander size. So I went to Altered 3D and got these Weld Alumistar wheels as well. The only reason I picked this style was because they would be the easiest to cut the front spokes out of. After some careful measuring and printing, I have a bench full of parts to build a set of multi-piece wheel standing Fuchs style wheels that should be a piece of cake to paint. I think I've now got all the major parts for this build accounted for, but it's got one more party trick up its sleeve, but that's for a different video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, you know what to do, because I have all kinds of model car stories to tell. Thanks for watching.